Hello, and welcome to this episode of Kennedy Saves the World. So, the big debate is why won't Joe Biden step aside and give up the notion of a second term? Is it because he is so power mad and narcissistic that he can't stand to be out of power when he can stay at the absolute zenith of politics for 4 more years? Or is it because the committee who is running the presidency, known as Joe Biden, is happy with this shadow puppet and they are fine doing whatever it takes to stay in power and amass more power for another 4 years? If that were the case, then obviously no one in their right or wrong mind is going to leave power if they think they still have all the faculties they did 4 years ago, 10 years ago, 50 years ago. It's been a very, very long political career for Joe Biden. Some would argue too long. And maybe it's time for him to be done. And perhaps maybe he's overstayed his welcome. Well, what I wrote about in the Daily Mail yesterday is it's not necessarily Joe Biden. It's really Jill Biden, because she's the only person who at this point can take him out of the White House and put him in a home. And that's what she should do, because it is the New York Post had a phenomenal editorial a few days ago saying that what this administration is doing by propping him up and keeping him where he is they're committing elder abuse. And frankly, it's wrong because he doesn't have the capacity to remember massive basic things about his life. I don't doubt what Special Counsel Robert Hur published in his report. I don't doubt that Joe Biden didn't know when he was vice president, didn't know when he ascended to the presidency, wasn't quite sure of the era of his life when his son died. Several times he has said publicly that his son died in Iraq. He didn't. He served in Iraq, and he may have developed cancerous cells when he was there, but he sadly died in a hospital in 2015. The person who is keeping Joe Biden from leaving is his wife, Dr. Jill Biden. And as you remember, Whoopi Goldberg once laughably suggested that Jill Biden would make a great surgeon general because she's a phenomenal doctor. And everyone else on The View had to correct her and go, yeah, she's kind of a fake doctor, not a real doctor. She got her PhD in something like educational theory, which doesn't really deserve the doctor honorific, but she insists on it because it makes her sound more important and intelligent than perhaps she is. Because anyone who didn't go to medical school who insists on being called doctor is kind of a bag.
Don't go anywhere. More Kennedy Saves the World right after this.
So Dr. Jill has given her husband really horrible medical advice, and she has committed marital malpractice if she thinks that propping him up and keeping him in the White House for another 4 years so she can continue the grift. I think it is wrong. It is immoral. It's bad for him. It's horrible for the country. And it's really disgusting if that's what's going on. But she loves to wear fancy gowns from Reemacra and Oscar de la Renta and pricey pumps from Jimmy Choo and all the trappings that come with being first lady, which she got to watch from the wings for 8 years behind Michelle Obama, who didn't really like the job of being first lady. She didn't like the White House. She was resentful that they were kept in that gilded cage for 8 years and couldn't wait to get out. Jill Biden couldn't wait to get into the White House, and now she doesn't want to leave. And I think she is the biggest problem here, because there's a new book out by Katie Rogers called American Woman that takes a look at modern first ladies, starting with Hillary Clinton. And she was a nasty first lady. The people's pantsuit, not really the greatest political mind ever, a horrible retail politician. It's why she lost the presidency twice. The book starts with her and it ends with Jill Biden. And it doesn't really take a rosy look at her either, because she can be so aggressively defensive about her husband. And part of that is understandable. You know, that's her spouse. That's the person that she should care for and make people aware that they're going to have to go through her in order to hurt him. That's what any good spouse does. But if he's having a harder time as it appears, and I don't think he's faking it when he's in front of the cameras, he has a hard time completing thoughts and sentences. He has a very difficult time remembering things unless he's remembering a conversation that didn't happen between him and a president who died a quarter century before the conversation allegedly took place. All of these things betray that Joe Biden needs a constant caregiving. And a person who is in that much need of outside help can in no way fill the duties necessary to be president of the United States. And that was the basis of the special counsel report. Like, he's a sympathetic guy because he's a nice old man with a poor memory. That's essentially what the special counsel report said. That was the conclusion. We can't charge him because a jury will never convict him because he's such a nice, forgetful, sympathetic person. He's sympathetic because people feel bad for him because he's lost his mind. So if he can't be charged, he also can't run. And if he can't run, his spouse needs to be the one to gently walk him down the ramp and protect what is left of his legacy, because it is being destroyed every time he steps in front of a camera. And it's a horrible thing to do to someone. She should be ashamed of herself if she is just there for Air Force One and Camp David and every other retreat and perk that is offered to her as First Lady. She needs to first be a good American, and for the good of the country, help her husband step aside so we are not stuck with 4 more years of declining crazy. And, you know, Jimmy Fallon made a very good point on his radio show yesterday. If Democrats actually run someone who's 30 years younger than Joe Biden, then all of a sudden, if Donald Trump is the nominee, Republicans have the age problem on their hands. So Democrats really need to catch what the president is laying down. President Velveeta Brains, his cheese has been left in the wind way too long, and he has exceeded his shelf life. So, Jill, you know what to do. Go be a good doctor. Stop giving bad advice. This has been Kennedy Saves the World. I'm Kennedy.
Listen ad-free with a Fox News Podcast Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app. Oh, go ahead and leave me a review while you're there. I'd love to hear what you have to say. You've been listening to Kennedy Saves the World on the Fox News Podcast Network.